Good morning. I hope all is well with you and your practice today. Here in Pittsburgh, it is a Thursday morning in January, and it is freaking cold outside. It's warm in here, but outside it is 10 degrees Fahrenheit, and it is snowy. So I have not gone out, nor do I plan to go out for a walk with my dogs. Instead, I'm going to record a video and talk about journaling. And specifically, I'm prompted to talk about journaling because I've been reading Emerson. I've been reading about Emerson, and I've been talking about that here in these videos. And the Emerson's journal was such an important part to his process, to capturing information, cogitating. The act of writing in the journal is how he clarified those ideas. And it made me realize, it made me realize that there are different ways that I've approached my own journal in my own life. And I thought I would talk about those and see if they resonated with you, see whether you had any similar ideas. First off, I've always kept a journal, but rarely a diary, like a record of what I did. And Emerson did both. I have three ideas about different approaches to journaling. Again, each of them have informed my journal and have been more or less important, over time. So, a long time ago now, in the 90s, which, as I'm recording this, is 30 years ago. Yeah. I was very influenced by Julia Cameron and the morning page approach. And morning page is every day, 3 pages, whatever's on your mind, unfiltered, ephemeral. There was no intent that this would be a historical artifact. Fill the page, and in that filling was a couple of things. It was a release. At least for me, I found it a release of anxiety. I found it interesting to see what was on my mind day by day, because you would fill these pages and then periodically, weekly or so, you would look back and look every day when I had the opportunity to write about whatever was on my mind, this was on my mind every day. That could be something that was causing anxiety. It could be something that I was starting to work towards. There was a perspective of what's really front of mind, and then maybe direct some activity towards that. And the morning pages concept came with a whole workbook and a whole approach to bringing in inspiration and creative ideas. And it was very, very informative to me for journaling. I still use that idea, particularly the review. Like, I tend not to keep my journals. I use these nice Term portfolio. You can see I mark them up. That might last 9 months, sometimes a bit longer, depending on how much I'm writing. And then when it's full, I have a review period, and I go back through each page, highlight, just without really spending a lot of time, very intuitively, just highlight from each page what looks important. And then I'll go back through the highlights and write those down on kind of the first couple of pages of the new journal. And that's an interesting review process. So that idea of the pages in a journal as being a mirror and a tool to expose ideas that maybe are nagging away in the background that I might not always articulate, it fits in well with how I use tarot. It fits in, divination tools like that. Kind of a reflection that uh, calls for review uh, and provides information that way. Right? And I think that's a very common approach to journaling now. I think those morning pages and Julia Cameron and that way of thinking about journaling has really shaped how as a culture, in sort of our society, in our advertising, in the way we talk about journaling. I think that was very influential, and certainly for a decade, I was very active in that kind of journaling, and still think about it that way. So, morning pages. Then the second bucket of a journaling approach, which is kind of where I'm at right now and have been for maybe since COVID. I think I remember shifting gears a bit in 2020, not because of COVID, but maybe because of COVID. Certainly we had more time then. But I shifted gears a little bit, and I started to get much more interested in like classical Stoic thinking. And again, the Stoics advocated journaling, and I would call this sort of the Aurelian approach to journaling. I think of it as almost like behavior modification. What did I do? How did I feel about what I did? Scrutinize the aspirations and the motivations, and repeat the lessons. Right? This is why I think it's sort of a behavioral therapy in my journal now. And you see this in meditations in Aurelius. Like I write as a voice to say, remember, when you feel like this, try doing this. I can point a shift in my journaling approach because there was a time, and it was about 2020, again, COVID time, but not immediately related to COVID, where my work was I was just being beaten up every day. And I still think that there were bad faith actors. It's maybe the only time in my career where I felt like, the anxiety and paranoia that you get when you work in an office was really legitimate, right? I was a target, and I wasn't dealing well with it. And on top of that, I was feeling put upon. I didn't feel like I was being respected, elevated, treated properly. And I would write this, and it would be a mixture of anger and self-pity. And somewhere I just said, and it might have been I might have read Aurelius. I said, what if in having filled this paragraph of grievance, what if I wrote, no, you are, instead of feeling put upon, I feel put upon because my pride is injured. The antidote to pride is humility, not passivity, not giving up, not being a doormat, but kind of humbly assessing. None of these situations, even this case where like I say, I think there were bad faith actors. I was part of that dynamic too, and I had control over how I responded. It's very eye-opening for me, because I found that if in my journal I substituted gratitude and humility for grievance and being put upon, I actually did behave differently. And ultimately, the situation changed. I actually ended up moving into a slightly different role. And I could do that because I think in the journaling exercise I was open. Instead of becoming closed and angry, nothing will happen from that situation. So, yeah, on the one hand, this is positive affirmation and all of the attendant sort of loose intellectual looseness that comes along with that. But I do think that when you look at meditations, the Marcus Aurelius, you look at this approach, seeing what I write and using the pages of the journal to remind myself of different behavior, different lessons. Like literally I would say, hey, speaking to myself in the pages, hey, remember you read, I was reading all of the Ryan Holiday books at the time, and other Stoic stuff. And there's tons of information in there about what it is to be, what it is to be a human active in society, in roles and personas. So and my journal today even is very much filled with that kind of stuff. A lot of lists of things I want to do, and then modulating that so it's not like I talk about this in a lot of videos as well. Discipline is creating the space to do, right? It's cultivating a space. It's not a punitive set of requirements. Discipline is what allows evolution and things to unfold. And so my journaling right now is very much like that, scrutinizing behavior, trying to cultivate, trying to recognize where I'm being unskillful. It's been very much a part of the last couple of years where I've been alcohol-free. Understanding the changes in my capacity because of that. Right. So that's the second bucket approach. Morning pages, Marcus Aurelius, and so now I'm reading Emerson, and I'm inspired. I've always wanted to maintain like a chapbook or a common book where I really do capture poems, quotes, ideas that have inspired me. It's sort of what I do in these videos, but I lose it because I don't document it anywhere. I don't capture it in a tool on my laptop or my phone when it would be easy to do that, right? I don't write it down. And I don't develop my ideas. So this is what I want to do now in this sort of third, I call it the Emersonian or the active journaling, which is to use my daily journal also as a workbook. I think in the past I've separated that out. If I'm writing or working on something, I'll have a separate set of pages, a separate notebook. But I don't want to do that now. I want to keep, like if I'm working on a story or an essay that maybe ends up on my Substack channel, or what I have in mind now, because I really am inspired by Emerson. It's like a 6-video set, each video being, an hour-long spoken piece, as if I were in a pulpit, as if I were Emerson in the Lyceum, as if I were part of the Transcendental Club. But I need to think about that stuff. I need to work on that. And so my journal, instead of getting a new notebook and saying, oh, here's my Emerson notebook, I want it to permeate into the other aspects that are in my journal, right? The aspects of behavior and discipline, and the aspects of examination and presentation, mirroring, examination, insight. So, I bet that most of you who listen to these videos, and certainly everybody who's gotten this far in this video, also has a journaling practice. And I'd be interested in knowing in the comments whether you have a similar approach or a different approach, how you think about journaling. So keep your wits about you, and and stay warm.